News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A Washington state man is dead after a snowmobile accident near West Yellowstone. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Here it is Tuesday, February 16th, 2016. Right now we have a partly cloudy sky, 37 degrees in Missoula. Roads are mostly bare and wet for your morning commute. Hope you enjoyed the day off yesterday, if you were lucky enough to have it. Our newscast this morning, sponsored by Kootenai Creek Village. They're the maintenance-free active adult community in Stevensville, where they offer the best of western Montana living. Gallatin County authorities say a man has died in a snowmobile crash near West Yellowstone. The sheriff's office said in a news release 53-year-old Ed Collins Eldridge of Duval, Washington, had been snowmobiling with friends when he died Thursday. Authorities had received a report that Eldridge struck a tree Thursday morning. About 15 minutes after the initial call, the group reported that Eldridge had stopped breathing and they had begun administering CPR. The Sheriff's Office, U.S. Forest Service, and the West Yellowstone Division of Gallatin County Search and Rescue responded to the incident. Emergency personnel took over and began performing CPR, but their efforts were unsuccessful. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The crash remains under investigation. Before the end of this month, the Montana Public Service Commission is expected to analyze the rates that Mountain Water Company is charging its customers, and there are signals that those rates may go down. Although a drop in rates isn't certain, Public Service Commission spokesperson Eric Sells said changes could be on the way.
We received testimony from Dr. John Wilson. He's a consultant contracted by the Montana Consumer Council. He had suggested that previous owner had higher cost equity that they were funding their ownership of the water system. And when that transferred to Liberty, they have a larger portion of lower cost debt.
Now that Liberty owns Mountain Water Company and Liberty's debt interest is lower, those savings may come back to consumers, and it may not take that long to happen.
Right now, the commissioners are shooting to have an interim rate put into effect by February 28th, I believe. I'm not sure if that timeline is still going to work, but that's what the commission had hoped for a few weeks ago.
The interim rate has potential to change depending upon the results of a larger rate case. This case could last up to several months. An ongoing battle over public land, access, fences, and locked gates in rural Montana ended up with one man shot to death and another charged with deliberate homicide. Jurors hearing the case in Helena will be asked to determine whether Joseph Campbell shot Timothy Newman in self-defense in October of 2013 or gunned him down in cold blood near his home south of Augusta. During opening statements yesterday, Assistant Attorney General Mary Kochenauer and witnesses will testify 2 days before the shooting. Campbell threatened that the next time he saw Newman, he was going to, quote, put him down, end quote. Defense Attorney Greg Jackson said it was Newman's erratic behavior, stalking, and threats that led Campbell to believe Newman was going to shoot him, so he fired first. Missoula County Attorney Kirsten Papp says her office is pursuing the possibility of using mediation in criminal cases, a process that may never have been used before in Montana.
The legislature authorized criminal mediation in 2007 after they realized what a great cost savings it was and how it helped lessen that burden on the crowded court docket. In the civil cases, I'm not aware of anybody doing it around here ever, and I know my predecessor wasn't that interested in it. I think it's a great tool.
Mediation is often used in civil cases. Papp says for it to occur, both parties have to agree to the process. If agreed to, a judge will then select a mediator.
The judge chooses a mediator based on recommendations, and then you sit down and it's an alternative dispute resolution, and usually it's a mediator with lots of experience in criminal law, kind of has an idea of how this case is going to turn out if it does go to trial. And then the parties split the cost of the mediation, which is minuscule compared to the cost that a trial would be.
The costs of a trial are great and very difficult to ascertain. Pabst says she's analyzing the expense of criminal trials and said they can cost taxpayers anywhere between $25,000 and $250,000. Pabst says if the current mediation process is successful, she'll release more details. Until then, all the parties must remain anonymous. Two Billings-based organizations are collecting signatures on competing petitions for changes in Montana's marijuana law. The Billings Gazette reports 58-year-old Steve Zabawa believes Montana's medical marijuana program has lacked oversight and just increased the availability of the drug. Zabawa and his organization Safe Montana are trying for a second time to get the 24,175 signatures required to put their initiative on the ballot. He put forth a similar measure 2 years ago, but didn't get enough signatures. However, 29-year-old sports writer Anthony Variano has started a competing organization called Cycling for Sensible Drug Policy. He argues that no one should go to jail for possessing a plant. The group's name refers to a bicycle tour Variano plans to start in April, collection signatures for legalizing pot along the way. On yesterday's Talkback show, constitutional fellow at the Independence Institute and former UM law professor Rob Natelson reflected on the difficulties President Obama might have in nominating a Supreme Court justice to replace the late Antonin Scalia.
President Obama has been an unusually divisive president who's been far more ready to rhetorically attack the opposing party than to attack radical Islamic terrorism. And as a result, he's won very few friends among the opposition in the Senate or on Capitol Hill generally.
Natelson also expressed the hope that the president and the Senate might enhance the diversity that does not now exist on the Supreme Court.
With Justice Scalia on the court, we had only 4 states represented. They were all East Coast or West Coast states. We had 4 justices who were born in New York, 2 in New Jersey, 2 in Northern California, and 1 in Georgia. Nobody at all, in other words, from flyover country.
With Scalia's death, both sides of the aisle are marshaling their forces to replace the justice, Democrats before Obama's term ends and Republicans delaying until a new president is elected. Took only a few days, but Gary Marbott's course entitled Gun Safety for Personal Protection and Concealed Weapons Permits, scheduled for April 1st, has already been filled. Not to worry, though. Marbott, president of the Montana Shooting Sports Association, said another course will be offered a few weeks later. He explains what's contained in his course.
My class is intended for people who want to enforce their choice to not be victims. It's about handguns. Although the firearm safety information is generic and appropriate to all firearms, still the class is really about self-defense with handguns.
Marbott, who has authored dozens of bills relating to hunting and firearms, is well qualified to teach a firearms safety course.
I'm accepted as an expert in state and federal courts on use of force and self-defense, firearm safety, and so I know those topics frontwards and backwards. I'm a competitive shooter, and I shoot a lot. I know a lot about shooting skills, so it's just a good product for those people who want to learn and who may wish to apply for a concealed weapon permit.
The price of the course is $100 and is offered on a first-come, first-served basis. Contact Marbott via email at gary@marbott.com or by contacting the Montana Shooting Sports Association. Our News Talk time, 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy to cloudy skies today with isolated showers. Temperatures will be above normal with highs right around the 50-degree mark. Tonight will drop to the freezing mark with clouds in place on Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.